Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 carries of patch 7.37D. These are my 5 favorite and the heroes I think that are best in the current patch, and let's get into it. So we're going to start off with 2 honorable mentions. I do feel that I have to put one of these heroes and the other one I like, but I don't think it's completely OP in all brackets. On top of that, go sign up to the Game League website, guys. I'm posting new content over there almost every day, and I'll see you there. Alright, the first honorable mention is Wraith King. Wraith King is currently the highest win rate hero in Dota. I'm not kidding, Wraith King is literally the highest win rate hero in the game right now, and so I can't really not put him on this list for the average player. Do I think as you get better and better at the game, Wraith King stays as one of the best characters? No, I don't. Its win rate on Dota 2 Pro Tracker is quite bad, and honestly, it's basically unpicked in the pro scene, and I think for a good reason. The hero's laning stage is not that good. I think it's pretty kiteable in team fights. I think in general, the hero even has scaling issues. However, if people target poorly, it's pretty good. It's also really easy to play. And so as a result, Wraith King is an honorable mention. I do recommend playing it if you happen to get safe lane and you don't play safe lane, or if you're looking for a really easy hero to get into the role with, or even just have solid games on if you are average to low MMR, then Wraith King is a solid option. Okay. Getting into the next hero that is an honorable mention, we have Drow Ranger. We've actually seen quite a bit of Drow pop up in the recent Wallachia Major. I've actually seen it as somewhat of a response to Luna. I think it's pretty interesting, right? Because Luna's this semi-low range hero, Eclipse is also sort of low range, and as a result, Drow can outrange her and also pierce through the very high natural armor or base armor of Luna. Luna doesn't have any added armor, and this is great because Drow's ultimate, when it procs, pierces through base armor. This is really good against stat-based heroes like Terrorblade, Morphling, and of course, in this case, Luna. And so if you happen to see a Luna, I think Drow is a great response. I also think that Drow is a decent response to Medusa, who's in this meta and also is in this video. And on top of that, they've been buffing Drow quite a lot. What I think is important to note about Drow is, first of all, her 10 talent is 15 damage on frost arrows. At 15, she has 2 really good talents, either multi-shot cooldown, which is wonderful, or attack range, which I've actually seen people taking. And then she has this really good facet called Sidestep, where Drow can move during her E and use items while casting multi-shot. This means you can use things like Pike, Manta, BKB, Shadowblade while using your multi-shot, and that's massive because the hero previously, when he used this ability, was just a sitting duck. It was easy to set up with stuns, it was easy to dodge. Now it's none of those things, like literally none of those things. And so I'm a big fan of Drow. I think this hero has a lot of potential in this meta. I think the shard is one of the best shards in the game. In the late game, preventing your ulti from getting canceled is super nuts. And so yeah, I recommend giving this hero a shot for sure. But okay, let's get into the relist now and break it down. All right, coming in at number 5, we have Razor. For a while now, I've definitely been a Razor believer. The main reason why I believe in Razor is because of his facet Thunderhead. If you aren't familiar with Thunderhead, it lowers the cooldown on his E, Storm Surge, the ability that shocks 3 targets and slows them and deals damage. If Razor is targeted by an auto attack or a targeted ability, it will proc. Well, on auto attacks, it doesn't always proc, but it procs usually 17% of the time. When you have Thunderhead facet and your ultimate is active, it actually makes the Storm Surge double the chance, and not only that, it lowers the cooldown from a 3-second window to a 0.5-second cooldown. This is huge. It basically makes Razor the old Razor that used to buy Bloodstone, which honestly I thought some people would try Bloodstone Razor ever since they reintroduced this facet, which I don't think is that bad, funny enough, but I really believe in carry Razor. I think the build that you should go now is a Wraith Band, Boots, Magic Wand, Null Talisman. I think it's important to buy all 3 of these stat items. You need the armor and the attack speed from the Wraith Band. Wand is just like the best item in the game. Null Talisman, because this hero desperately needs mana, and they kind of killed Mana Boots. I really don't like Mana Boots on heroes like Razor. I think it's just not worth it anymore. And so yeah, I would go for Treads. And from there, there's a couple of different options. Some people go Falcon Blade, some people go Mage Slayer. I think Mage Slayer is really valuable if the enemy team, of course, has a ton of magic damage. And it gives you a lot of mana regen, which is really, really nice. Falcon Blade is kind of a well-rounded item. The greediest build out of all of them is rushing a Manta style or rushing Sange and Yasha. I think both are fine, but neither of them give mana, and so I'm generally a bigger fan of just going Falcon Blade into BKB. I think that's the most standard and solid build. After BKB, you go Sange and Yasha, then into Shard, because that helps the link be longer and keep the enemy close to you. Basically makes your link pull you towards the enemy and them towards you. And then you buy Satanic. After that, there's a whole variety of items you can buy. You can buy Refresher, if you have the mana pool for it. You can buy Butterfly. I saw Nightfall buy Hurricane Pike in this position next. There's a lot of different options at this point. But the main items basically are Sange and Yasha into Satanic with a BKB, so you're stupid tanky and you're proccing like crazy with Thunderhead. Coming in at number 4, we have Gyrocopter. I think Gyrocopter is going to see a rise in popularity with the nerfs to a lot of the other ranged heroes. Now you guys know that Gyro is one of my favorite heroes, so obviously I'm a little bit biased, and I do think that this hero is pretty difficult, but I have to say I'm a big believer in Gyro. The main thing I'd like to say about Gyro is that I actually think people are largely getting the item build wrong. I think Ags is one of the most overrated builds in the game on Gyro. I really believe that Ags Gyro just isn't that good. And I'm curious to see when people might stop buying this item altogether. Obviously, a lot of people strongly disagree with this, but like even someone like Parker, right? So I watched a lot of Parker. He's, in my opinion, the best Gyro. He understands his hero really well. He just bought Mjolnir and Ags. And to me, that's weird because the Ags procs right, your auto attack on a set amount of time. So it's not like it's good with Mjolnir where the more attack speed you have, the more the Ags shoots out side gunners. No, it's a flat number. And so the Ags tends to be good with Daedalus, which is why that's the classic build and what most people do. But a lot of people, I mean, for instance, I'm looking at Tomato's build here. He's going Ags into Shadowblade. That's more attack speed. Then we're seeing a lot of Ags into Yasha. I see a Yasha Ags into Shadowblade, like so much attack speed with Ags. And there's just not that much synergy. And people will say, oh, but it doubles the amount of hits if you have Flak on. Or you need the HP. And all of these arguments, I just very much feel fall flat. So yeah, I really believe, guys, if you're wondering what I think the best build in the game on Gyro is, and this one might be a hot take, but I'm gonna make a video on it at some point, is Dragonlance. Well, Treads, Wand, Dragonlance. After that, you buy a Mjolnir. I think that's the best damage item of the patch, and it allows Gyro to really go comfortably into the fight without being afraid of dying. Gyro naturally has to get close to the Rocket Barrage. You might be like, why do you have a Dragonlance then? It's just the early game fighting item. It lets you use Flat Cannon in the early game and hit from far away, as well as have an HP pool. It's really strong. Builds into Pike later on, which we do want. Then you go Mjolnir. After Mjolnir, you go BKB. And from there, there's like a billion different items you can buy. It really depends. Basically, the main items that I like is Pike, BKB, and Mjolnir. I think with these items, you're really hard to kite. You do a stupid amount of damage. And then from there, I would say probably something like Satanic is really good. At level 20, if you take Rocket Barrage damage, you can buy your Shard. That combo is extremely strong. But yeah, something like Satanic from there into Butterfly is definitely a really strong build. So yeah, I think Gyro might be looked at in the wrong way right now. You guys can give my build a shot. There are some players, like for instance, Parker just rushed Mjolnir in his game, and I believe that this might be the angle people start to take, as it's really, really strong. On top of that, a couple things before I move on to the next hero. Gyro just got 2 base damage last patch, which might not seem like a big deal, but this hero has some of the highest base attack time in the game. And on top of that, when you click Flat Cannon, you're hitting a ton of different targets. And so that 2 damage ends up being like, you know, obviously a lot more. It ends up being probably an extra 16 to 20 damage on heroes with the first flak, more like 16. And then on the creep wave, it's going to push quite a bit faster as a result. So it is a big change for a hero like Gyro. And on top of that, he got damage on his ulti in the previous patch. So he's been getting buffed quite a lot, while heroes around him have been getting nerfed. All right, getting to number 3, it's a hero that got nerfed last patch, like straight up nerfed, and that's Luna. So let's talk about Luna real quick. This hero in Wallachia currently has a 58% win rate, and it's one of the most picked heroes of the tournament. Usually when a hero gets picked a lot, it gets studied a lot. It's gonna get counterpicked a bunch, but honestly, it's hard to counterpick Luna. This hero's laning stage is very resilient. Its farming patterns can be so defensive on this map that has 8 billion camps, so it's very hard to shut her down. And that's the case for a lot of Flash farmers, which is why I think Flash farmers tend to do well. Ever since the release of this map, that's sort of been the case. And they really didn't nerf Luna to some crazy extent. Like, they nerfed her facet a little bit, where the Moonstorm facet gives less damage. The damage buff per beam got reduced, but not by enough. Like, really just not by enough. They nerfed damage on Lucent Beam, which obviously matters, because nowadays Luna's max out the Lucent Beam, and then they burst people with Eclipse, and it lost 20 damage, which super adds up when you might be hitting someone with like 3 or 4 beams. You know, in the early game, that is the difference frequently. So, I mean, that was nerfed quite a bit as well, but that was kind of about it. Other than that, she still farms really fast, has a good lane, and has this level 20 timing where you buy a Conda, and then you have 2 Moonglaves fired on Lucent Beam at level 20. I mean, this talent is insane. On top of that, at level 25, it gets even better because Lucent Beam hits additional target, which basically means you're shooting out 4 auto attacks in the late game. I mean, think about it. Imagine you had a Sven. I mean, to be fair, Luna isn't Sven, you don't have God Strength, but imagine you had a Sven who just got 4 free auto attacks on a 6-second cooldown that could be cast from like 8 billion range. I mean, it would be the most broken thing in the game. Now, you don't hit for 600 or 700, but you hit pretty damn hard, and Conda amps this even further as it makes your Lucent Beam do damage based on your damage, which is pretty nuts. And so This Luna timing is insane. The hero's really good at fighting in the early game ever since they made it where Lucent Beam can be skilled instead of Moonglaves, because you can take both now. And so yeah, this is one of the most reliable heroes of the patch, and definitely one of the most well-rounded carries of the patch. Maybe the most well-rounded carry of the patch. But another well-rounded carry we have is Medusa. They technically nerfed Medusa last patch by nerfing Mana Boots, as the most common build on Medusa was buying Mana Boots in the laning stage. However, I don't really think this was a necessary build on the hero. I don't even think it's that bad. But I will say my favorite build on Medusa goes as follows right now. So for starting items, it's pretty standard still. You're going to buy Wand 3 branches or Sage's Mask Wand 3 branches. Some people are even starting mangoes if they want to like really fight to the death, which I think is fine. So some people are still buying a Bassi even if they go treads. So we're seeing a lot of Bassi. Some people are even buying Null, like Tomato's buying Null, Miracle bought a Null. I even think it's okay to buy both if you really want to play for the laning stage and kind of make up for the fact that you don't buy Mana Boots anymore. You can go Bassi, Wand. I think maybe 3 items is a bit overkill, but Bassi Wand or Null Wand into treads, this kind of makes up for the fact that you don't have Mana Boots. Then from there, it's standard into Manta. If you want to fight in the early game, I think you do have the option to go something like Diffusal or Dragonlance first. Probably Diffusal is the better option of the two as it gives you a slow and a mana pool. But yeah, the standard build right now is still just Manta. Very common to get this item at minute like 13, 14. Super standard. And then after that, the most common build on Pro Tracker right now is either, yes, Shadowblade. Yatoro is buying Shadowblade on a lot of heroes, and yeah, this item is good. It's really just high damage and it's buffed a million times, so it makes these heroes super mobile. Diffusal Blade is pretty popular. I'm a big fan of that build because I think it gives you good fighting potential early on. And then honestly, after that, it's probably Butterfly. There's quite a bit of variations. Sometimes you'll see something like a Scotty if the enemy team has a lot of healing. Yatoro bought an Orchid one game because he was against Puck and Pugna and Shadow Demon. I mean, that's pretty cool. He went Bloodthorn immediately after, which is pretty dope because it's good with Manta and the mana pool is really good on this hero. But yeah, Deuce has just been one of the most stable heroes for a while now. It's definitely going to continue to be that way. It's just pretty easy to lane. It farms fast. It hits a strong mid-game timing. It scales into the late game. It sieges. It's not good at Roshing, to be fair. So like the only thing that Deuce is kind of bad at is taking Rosh on. But other than that, it does literally everything well. All right, and finally, last but not least, we have Alchemist. Yeah, I think Alchemist is probably the best carry of the patch if you know what you're doing. I am a super believer of this hero for a couple of reasons, and I still think that there's some min-maxing that people can do. Alright, so Alchemist currently on Pro Tracker has a 53% win rate. On Dota Buff, it has a bit lower, it's around 51, but that's still pretty high. Alch doesn't tend to have this great low MMR pub win rate, and that's because the hero doesn't scale the best, and that's still sort of the case nowadays. It's not the best scaling hero, but let me talk about what you should do on this hero to go nuts. So I have a couple of opinions, and my first opinion is that Soul Ring is a must. So there's honestly a lot of different starting items that people are buying, like a lot, and I mean a lot. My favorite build is 2 gauntlets, a circlet, stick, tangos, and quelling. This is with seed money. You get this nasty starting item build. I mean, it is insane how much HP you have and damage. Then you turn the circlet and the first gauntlet into a bracer. Then you buy boots. After that, you can buy immediately phase boots, or you can go soul ring if you need the mana. So you buy another gauntlet. So you have a bracer, boots, soul ring, you go phase boots. After that, you buy radiance. And then what a lot of people are doing wrong, which I think people are starting to figure out. A lot of players go Manta style. I really think it's bad. I don't like it at all. First of all, this item has been nerfed 40 times in a row, so the illusions are pretty underwhelming. It's a long cooldown, low duration now. They nerfed the cost of this item, and when you kill creeps with Manta style on Alch, you don't get bonus gold. So it's still good, like any other hero killing a creep wave, but it's not that good. It's not some OP mechanic, where Sanjin Yasha on Alchemist, in my opinion, is insane. My favorite build by a long shot is going Radiance, Blink, so you can fight in the early game. After Blink, you go Sanjin Yasha. Then you buy your Shard. This timing is straight up insane. Why? You get slow resistance, status resistance, so you're very hard to kite. Most importantly, you get Heal Amp. Heal Amp on Alch is nuts, and it's particularly nuts because his ulti is good, but most importantly, because of his Shard. It received one of the biggest buffs in Dota's history. And I'm not kidding. Most of the time when something receives a buff, it receives about a 10 to 20% buff. Berserk Potion got a 50% increase to its duration. Yeah, you heard that right. It went from a 10-second duration to a 15 seconds of 50 attack speed, which Alch desperately wants with his ultimate, as his ultimate lowers his base attack time. 40 HP regen, a stupid high number. By the way, can be used on allies. It dispels you, so you can get rid of things on yourself, if needed, when you cast it. And 30 movement speed, which makes you zoom. You already zoom because you have phase boots and concoction, so it synergizes with these things. It's just crazy. And so yeah, I really believe this timing is one of the best timings in Dota. Then from there, you can buy BKB if you desperately need it, so you don't get kited. But a lot of the time you don't need it because Sanjinyasha Shard is such a nasty timing, you're almost unkillable. You might be saying, what about Spirit Vessel? Yeah, that is the answer to this hero. That's the answer to this build. If the enemy is buying a Spirit Vessel, I recommend after the Sanjinyasha Shard to buy BKB. Or in that case, you can hold your shard to use it against the Spirit Vessel as it does dispel you. So you have some options there. And from there, my favorite item to buy next is Mjolnir. You might be saying, Speed, what about Assault Cuirass? Everyone buys AC. I think AC is stupid overrated. The reason why people like AC on Alch, number one, it has some synergy with Acid Spray. Acid Spray reduces armor, AC reduces armor by 5, so you get 11 armor reduction. 11 armor reduction is okay, but it really doesn't help you kill carries. Even supports can get past 11 armor. And armor reduction gets really good when you bring heroes towards 0 or towards the negatives. It gets really good. But that doesn't happen a lot, as I said, especially against carries. So it does give 60 attack speed, but honestly, I think the biggest reason people used to buy AC in the past on Alchemist is because the hero had armor problems. But that's just no longer the case. It's not the case because you're buying Phase Boots, you're buying Soul Ring, you might get a Dragon Scale, you might get Defiant Shell, and at level 15 you have Acid Spray grants armor to allies, so basically you're putting 6 armor on yourself when you go in. So you have plenty of armor. Usually you have like 20, 22, 23 armor, more if you have a neutral item. You don't need armor. And so my favorite item is, in my opinion, one of the best DPS items in the game right now, and that's Mjolnir. Mjolnir is like the highest damage item in the mid game in Dota. Like, Daedalus is if you have a combination of other damage items, but Mjolnir, especially as a standalone damage item, which sort of is the case on Alch because his only damage item is kind of Radiance, and you want attack speed with Radiance, so Mjolnir makes sense. It's insane because you put the shield on yourself, and for 15 seconds, you're shooting these jolts out that do 225 damage, which is a crazy number, and you're stupid tanky, so you're staying alive forever, you're proccing like mad. I just don't understand why people are still buying AC. I think Mjolnir is better by a long shot. I don't think it's close, and it's really good as well with the 20 talent, which lowers your base attack time. So attack speed becomes even better. And yeah, that's going to be all for the best carries of 7.37D. I'm a huge fan of Alch. I think this hero is super broken. Do the things that I'm mentioning, which is buy Radiance, Blink, Sanjinyasha, and a Shard, and a Mjolnir. Then the next item can be a lot of things. I think late BKB is good. I think Abyssal is good. Funny enough, my favorite item to buy next is Octarine. I know that sounds insane, but it's actually good. Not a meme. It's actually good. You need lower ulti cooldown. It's very awkward. You need lower Shard cooldown. It's more stuns. It's more acid. It's more Mjolnirs. It is actually strong. It's even more phase boots, which is no joke. But alright, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!